Hey guys, what's up? This is Don and welcome to another After Effects tutorial on VideoFort. And it's been a while since I created or recorded one of these, but I'm back. I'm sitting here. It's past midnight actually, but I've only been awake for a few hours, which happens sometimes. My sleeping pattern just kind of reverses and comes back on itself a few times a year, and I'm in one of those weird spots right now, but I just roll with it and do what needs to be done. And today we're going to be creating this really cool looking hand scan effect. You're looking at just a quick little video that my friend filmed for me. It's just myself walking toward the window or the big door. It's like a big, full-length window in my apartment, and it opens up to a balcony. And I just walk up to this thing and put my hand up against the glass and pretend as if there's some kind of security scan that needs to happen before it opens. So quite a lot to cover in this one. We're going to be doing some tracking, and then of course the creation of those graphic elements you can see. And what's great about this is all of this is going to be created within After Effects, so no third-party plugins involved or external applications. You should be able to follow along entirely within After Effects to create something similar to what you're looking at here. Alright, so enough talking. That's a long ass intro. Let's just jump into this and start making something cool. This is just another comp with just the video clips I used for the tutorial, and this should be available for you to download if you don't have your own footage. And like I said before, this is just something that my friend quickly filmed for me, and it's actually kind of out of focus here. It's a bit blurry, but I was still able to get a lot of data out of this, so it should be fine anyway. But just something to keep in mind. You want to give yourself the best starting point possible. Also, if you do happen to use your own clips, make sure you put your hand against the glass surface long enough for you to be able to have those graphical elements animate onto the frame. Because if you keep your hand up too long or too short, the timing is going to be off and it's not going to look right. For this particular example, I put my hand up against the glass for around 3 seconds, and that was enough to create this exact video you see here. So just something to keep in mind whilst you're recording your video, before moving on to the next part, which is the tracking. I've separated this into 3 sections, and the tracking is only going to happen on this second clip. So I'm going to right click, go to track camera, and straight away that's going to start analyzing in the background, which means we're going to actually leave this comp and start working on something else, and then come back when this is finished. And it gives you a nice little timer here. I'm going to go back to the preview, and let's just establish some kind of order in which we're going to create these elements. I'm going to start with the larger things. So this big frame here, this big blue frame, the green frame on the right side, and then we'll move on to the smaller animated elements. So these circular elements on top of the fingers, and then of course the fingerprint containers on the right side here, and then just this other section afterward. If I go back to my main comp, the track has finished, and it's a pretty good track. I'm going to take this point right here. Let's right click this and create null and camera, and this is going to give me a 3D null object, and we have a camera in the scene also. So that sticks to that part of my hand, and this is what we're going to be tracking everything else onto. I'm going to go to around 3 seconds and keep that point in time in mind. We'll come back to it later. I want to duplicate the hand layer and I'm going to remove the tracking on this. I'm going to right click, time, and freeze frame. So if I were to just solo this is no longer moving, it's just a frozen frame at 3 seconds of my hand there. I want to pre-compose this into a new comp and move all attributes, and let's call this elements. And this is the comp where we're going to build up all the different elements before we bring them back to the main composition much later. Alright, let me just expand this so it fills up my timeline. And I want to trace around the hand. So if I go to the mask, let me get the Roto Bezier spline. So if I just take this gives me automatic curves if I just draw around the hand like this. And I just want to go around the palm here, and only the front of the hand, so I'm avoiding the back of my thumb here, and just getting the parts which are being pushed into the glass there. And this is going to be quite a crude mask, but it should be enough for what we need it to do. Alright, just finishing this up, something like this should work. And I'm going to take this layer and I want to position it to the left side of the screen here. Let me bring up the guides just quickly, so I can kind of use that as a marker. So kind of in the middle, you know, of the up and down axis here, but to the left side of the frame, somewhere like this. And I'm going to use this traced out hand as kind of a guide to draw the rest of the elements around. And you know, this will make more sense as we move along with the rest of the tutorial. Let's go back to the preview just a second, and this blue element, that's what we want to start drawing up now. I'm going to be doing this using a shape layer, and let's get the pen tool once again, and I'm just going to start drawing a shape around the hand here, and I'm holding shift to draw straight lines. I'm going to go down a bit further, I think, and go to the left, and I've got Roto Bezier still ticked, so I need to just make sure that when I first get the pen tool that I switch this off. I don't want this to be curved. Alright, let's try that again. So our first point goes over there. Let's draw a line going straight down, move to the left over here, and I'm gonna just come up diagonally like this, and then go up to about halfway, and let's come out diagonally again, and then I'm gonna move up maybe higher, and sort of come back in the other side, and connect this up to the starting point, and I can select this point individually and just nudge this down so that it's straight. And I think I want to select some of these points here and just move them in to the right side toward the hand. So if I hold shift, I can just bump those in a little bit, and perhaps I can move this in just a touch, not too much. And I'm just trying to frame this up similar to how this is framed here. It doesn't have to be exactly the same, but this is a good guide. I'm going to set the stroke to 3, and the color is going to be a kind of bluish color, like this, like a muted blue color. It doesn't need to be too bright. Okay, something like that. And I want to fill this with a gradient. So if I go to the fill here, I can cycle through the different fill modes by holding Alt on the keyboard and left click. And we have a gradient. I need to go back to the normal selection tool, and now I get these handles which I can move around to create the gradient like this. And I can go into the shape layer, twirl open the shape number 1 and go to gradient fill. And here I can actually start to change the colors. So for the start color, that's going to be black. So let's set that. And the end color is going to be that kind of blue again. And what's great about shape layers is that I can control different aspects without affecting other areas. So I want to lower the opacity of just the gradient or the gradient fill, but still have a more opaque outline. So if I just go to the gradient, I can change this, lower this to about 30, and now I can see my hand through that frame, but I still have a nice visible outline like that. And that's one of the main advantages of using shape layers. They really do offer a lot of control that perhaps masked layers couldn't do, for example. Anyway, moving on, we want to create the element on the right side. This is going to be also quite simple, just another shape layer. And this time actually I can get the rectangle tool and just draw this out like this, and I'm just eyeing this up. We can always change this later, and you can see it already gives me a gradient fill this time. I just need to go back to my selection tool and align this differently, and again I can dive in here, go to the gradient fill. This time it's going to be black and green, so the start color is going to be black, and the end color is going to be this type of bluish green, around 130 on the hue slider here. And I'm going to copy this color code, click OK, go to the stroke and paste this in here, so it's the same shade of green as the stroke. I'm also going to lower the stroke width to just 2 on this element compared to the 3 on the main element. And again, I'm going to lower the opacity of the gradient, so I'm going to set this to about 20. And those are the two sort of container elements. Everything else we'll need to create, the smaller details will be contained inside of these. I want to quickly go back to the main comp. Let's see what's happening over here. I want to unsolo this layer, and it's kind of weird to look at it first, but basically this elements layer, the reason why we have the hand there again is because it's a good guide to draw around to begin with, and then also it's a good guide for lining things up in this other composition, as you can see here. If you remember, we cut out the hand at 3 seconds in our timeline. That's where we froze that frame. So if I go to 3 seconds, this is what I want to use for lining up my graphics with the frame. And toggle the 3D switch on this layer, which is actually going to move this out of the frame momentarily. I actually need to reline this up anyway. Let's make it a child of the track null, and then press P to bring up the position. And we just need to zero out the X, Y, and Z position so that it sticks to the right place. And then of course we need to adjust the scale and then reposition it so it's in the right place. And I'm doing this at 3 seconds in my timeline. And around about here looks quite good. And here you can see our gradient is fine down here, but the black is too dark, so I just need to change the blending mode to something like screen, and now we can see through that. And of course the hand gets a bit too bright there, but we'll sort that out later. So now we know that our graphics is going to be tracked in the right place. We can go back into the elements layer and continue building the rest of the remaining bits. Quickly switch back to the preview. We want to create these circular elements which sort of scan the tips of the fingerprints there. If you look in the project files, which you should be able to download in some kind of link below this video, there's a file called circle elements, and this is just a screenshot of the original element before it was animated. Now, if you were starting a project like this from scratch and you already had elements like this created in another program like Photoshop or Illustrator, you could actually just slice this up in After Effects, separate the different sections using masks, and then just animate them. But the idea here, at least what I'm trying to teach you, is that you can start with nothing in After Effects and actually build up elements like these using shape layers. So that's what I'm going to be showing you how to do. I'm going to drag this circle element into a new comp, and let me just rename this to circles, and I'm going to lower the opacity of this layer so it's quite dim, just because I want it as a guide. And then I'm going to create a new shape layer, and this is going to be an ellipse tool. So let's just go in the center there and start drawing. If I hold Shift and Control, I can draw this out from the center like this. And I want to cycle through the fill modes. Again, just hold AOT and click until we have no fill, just a stroke. And I want to set the stroke color to white, and the stroke width, I think it's something around 8. And that's the first step, just a simple circular shape. And then I want to do what's called a trim, where we cut this into just one of these sections, which you can see on the guide layer, just like this. And if I just go to add over here, I want to add a trim paths, and then this just adds another layer to this. I can open this, go to the end, for example, and just dial this back. So I think the number I'm after here is 20. And then I need to clone this in a radial pattern, so we have 3 of them. And this is just another thing to add, and it's the repeater this time. Go to the repeater options, and the copies are set to 3, so that's correct. I want to go to the transform options of the repeater, set the position to 0, 0 to bring this back in, and then I want to just rotate this around until there's an equal gap in between the 3 different sections. The way you do that is simply divide 360 by the number of sections you have. So 360 by 3 is 120. And that's going to give me an equal gap in between my 3 clones. Okay, so that's it for the center element here. I'm going to copy this, go to the contents, ellipse 1, the ellipse path. I want to increase the size to where this sort of dashed circle is, and I'm just going to change the settings on this shape layer to get that look. So I need to trim the paths a lot more. I think in the preview this ended up being 0.5 for the end percentage. Here the start is still 0%. I need a lot more clones. So if I go to the repeater layer, I can set the copies to 90, and then the transform repeater options, I want to set the rotation to 360 divided by 90, which should give me 4, and now I have that dashed look going all the way around like this. Just carrying on, I will make another copy of the original element in the middle here, and let's go in the contents once again. Let's increase the size. This time there's 4 elements, so in the repeater layer I can set the copies to 4, and the rotation, this is just going to be 90. And then trim paths, this needs to be pulled back a bit, I think to 10%, and that's that section. I'm going to make another copy of this to do this outer section. That's probably the simplest bit. Again, just make the path larger. The stroke this time is also a lot more. I think it was around 20 pixels. Trim paths was 25%, and the repeater, there was only 2 clones, which means the rotation needs to be set to 180. And there we have it. If I switch off the guide layer, now you can see I have all those different elements combined together to create this more complex looking element, and all of this was done within After Effects using the shape layers. So a lot of power with these shape layers if you learn how to use them. I've just kind of scratched the surface with this because I've just added a trim pads and maybe a repeater, and that's it really. But if you go to the add menu here, you can see that there's a lot more things you could add to have different effects and create different looks. So perhaps in your spare time, this might be something worth exploring. Alright, I can go back to my main comp here and take the circles element, maybe make it smaller. I think 35% should work. And I can just start to place this roughly where the fingertips are here. The next bit we want to create are these fingerprint containers, and in fact the fingerprints themselves too. There's another guide layer here which you could use as a reference, and I'm going to lower the opacity of this to about 10. Let's create a new shape layer, and this time we're just going to draw this corner like this, so nothing too fancy. And just lower the stroke to I think around 10, and that's one corner. I can just duplicate this, right click and rotate this to by 180 degrees to get me the bottom right corner. And if I copy these two layers, I can get the scale. Let's unlock this and basically flip the X scale. And now I have the other two corners. So very simple. And then just a fifth and final shape layer. It's going to be a rectangle. Let's draw this. Try and line this up with a stroke of just maybe 1 or 2, like this. And that's it for this element. Very, very simple. And we can take this too, and first of all, let me name this properly. Let's call this fingerprint container. If we go back to the elements comp, I can place this here and just try and line this up inside of the green box. So that's the first one there. I'm gonna make a copy. Hold shift and just use the down arrow key to move that down. I can control D again to make another copy. And I'm going to parent all of these to the first container here, which is at the top. And I need to just lower the size of this until it fits within the green element, and maybe move it up slightly. Something like this. I'm going to move it closer to the inside of the green element here. And actually, I'm going to make an adjustment on this. And there we go. The some images of fingerprints which I collected for this tutorial. So let's take this first one. I'm going to drag it to a new comp. Let's copy this layer. Go to the one below. Let me press F4 to toggle the menus so I get the track matte menu. And I'm going to set this to Luma inverted matte. And now I can go to this lower layer, go to effect, generate and fill, and this is going to be white. So we just have a white thumbprint. I can go back to the elements comp and let's put this in our scene, make it smaller than this, and this can be like the top fingerprint. And I can maybe make a copy of this, move it down to say third print. And if we want this to look a bit different, we can flip the X scale, just flip it over to the other side. And we can make a copy again of the first one, move it down to the last box. So we have those three. Let's use the other image for the other two. So let's drag this to a new comp and kind of do the same operation we did on the previous layer. Get a mask quickly, cut this out. Just set this to subtract. And there we go. In the elements layer, I want to go back to the project. Let's get that fingerprint. And let's lower the scale once again. And let's place this in box number 2. So maybe make it smaller even. And duplicate this, move it down. And I think this should be fine. Alright, let's create this hand print, which you can see here, sort of the fingertips, and also the palm print. And for this, actually, we're going to use that hand layer. So if I just solo this for a second, let me actually hide everything here. So if I toggle the hide switch, and then again in the menu bar over here, I just have the hand in the frame. I want to go to Effect, Color Correction and Tint. Then I want to go to Effect, Color Correction and Levels. And let's just use this to create some contrast. I'm going to hide the mask. And let's just try and isolate the brighter parts of the hand here. And because of the way that the hand was pressing onto the glass, if we just make this more contrasty, those areas should be brighter, as you can see happening here. Still, I don't think there's enough separation between the fingertips and the palm there, so perhaps I can split this into 2 different layers. Let me just adjust this to extract the fingerprints, and then I can get a mask. Let's just cut off the top. Set this to intersect, duplicate the layer, and set the lower one to subtract. So now we have 2 separate layers, the top and the lower bit. I can go to the top layer. Let me switch off the lower one for now, and let's continue playing around with the levels here until we just have the fingertips and nothing else. And I actually cut off the thumb by accident. Let's just include that in the mask. And the lower layer is the palm. And this doesn't need to be so bright. So I can maybe create more contrast here, and I just lower the intensity to something like this perhaps. And let's hide that thumb. We don't need it on this lower layer. And then we can basically combine the 2 layers into a comp. So select both of them and pre-comp. Let's call this hand pre and click OK. Let's unsolo everything just so we can see all the layers. Let's go to our project files, and we have an image here called hand texture. I want to take this and place this above our hand layer. Let's solo these 2 layers by themselves. Let's hide everything else. And this texture layer, I want to go to Color Correction and Tint. And again, I'm going to use a levels adjustment to isolate only certain parts of this image. I want to create a lot of contrast. I can make a copy of this, go to the lower layer and set its track matte mode to be Luma Matte and point to the layer above. Let's hide the hand layer for now. So now I'm only seeing the white parts of this texture. If you can just make that out there. I can take both of these layers and pre-comp them. Let's call this texture pre. I want to make the top layer a child of the lower layer here. So if I move the lower one, the other one will follow as well. And I just want to find a part of this where there's a decent amount of these white areas. And I want to place this over my hand. And then I can take these 2 layers and pre-compose them into texture pre. And then take the hand pre layer and set that as a Luma Matte to the top layer. And when I unsolo everything, it's going to look like this. And in the main comp, it's going to appear like so. So that's it for the handprint for now. The only missing element now is this piece of text here, which kind of indicates the status of this whole fake security system. At first it says scanning, and then it says unlocked at the end there, and then the door kind of slides open. That's going to be very simple. We need some text first of all, saying scanning. This is the wrong color. Let's have this like an orange color. You can move this down here, and the font which I am using is called New Media, and I'm using the bold variant of it. So place this around here, make a copy of this. Let's switch off the lower layer, and let's type here unlocked, and let's set this to a nice green color, similar to the one we used over here, so something like this. We can leave these two layers overlaid for now. Let's maybe join them together, and we just need to create a small border for these. So let's make another shape layer, go to the pen tool, and I'm just going to draw a shape around this. Just set the stroke color to a reddish color like this, and let's switch off one of the text layers so we just have one of them. So at first it's going to look like this, and then of course we'll do the animation where it switches to say unlocked after all the other animations play out, and so on. But that's going to conclude this first part of this two-part tutorial series. In the next part, we're going to be taking a look at the animation, some blending options, and then just finalizing everything before a final render. So thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.